Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking something that's literally crucial for the future of our daily work, the Spark Assist operating manual, and we're turning it into a definitive, step-by-step, practical guide. Our goal here is super simple, right? We want to show you exactly how to leverage enterprise generative AI safely, effectively, and with maximum impact. Basically, we're taking the theory and turning it into a highly actionable playbook.
Okay, let's dive right in by establishing our absolute golden rule. Gen AI does not replace human judgment. Instead, it amplifies the quality of the thinking you feed into it. Listen, it's not a mind reader. It's definitely not a replacement for your hard-earned expertise. It's an amplifier. If you feed it weak, unstructured thinking, well, you're just going to get amplified confusion. But if you feed it strong, clear, highly structured instructions, it returns amplified value. Remember, you are the driver here.
To give you a truly practical playbook today, we're going to follow this specific agenda. First, we'll understand the core engine. Second, adopt the mental model. Third, build a structured prompt. Fourth, evaluate and calibrate outputs. And fifth, apply critical security guardrails.
All right, section 1, understand the core engine. Let's get right into it.
We really need to strip away the magic and look at the actual mechanics of this thing. The core engine is fundamentally a text prediction system. It's not this factual encyclopedia that just magically knows everything. Instead, it's literally just predicting the next most likely word in a sequence based on a massive amount of training data. You can kind of think of it as autocomplete on steroids. Because it optimizes for patterns and fluency rather than absolute cold hard facts, you absolutely have to guide it with precision.
So here's the crucial point. AI simply does not read between the lines. When we humans communicate, we rely heavily on implied meaning, shared context, unspoken norms. We just kind of get what the other person means. AI doesn't do that at all. It requires explicit, literal instructions. It only knows the stated formats and written rules that you physically give it. Failing to bridge this gap between implied human thought and explicit AI instruction is exactly where most errors and risks are born.
And this fundamental difference really explains why this specific tool you use matters just as much as how you use it. Public tools, like ChatGPT, are essentially retail cars. They're built for the mass market, and your data is often used to train future public models. Spark Assist, however, that is our armored truck. It's an enterprise-grade engine purpose-built for total privacy, security, and control. Inside that truck, your data stays completely secure.
Moving on to section 2, adopt the mental model.
Now that we know exactly what we're driving, we need to establish the step-by-step workflow for actually getting the work done. For every single task, you need to adopt this strict 3-step mental model. Step 1 is explore. This is where you collaborate with the AI almost like a peer, brainstorming and mapping out ideas together. Step 2 is design. This part is entirely on you. You step back, think like a leader, and literally design the actual solution path. And finally, step 3 is execute. Here, you instruct the AI like a manager, giving it super clear, unambiguous directions to produce the exact output you designed. Adopting this model leads us directly to avoiding what I like to call the lazy dump and pray approach. Come on, let's be honest. We've all been tempted to do it. You just dump a mountain of unorganized information into the chat box, hit enter, and cross your fingers for a brilliant answer. But when you do that, the AI is just optimizing to sound fluent, not to actually be useful. We really need to shift to designing structured prompts. Decide your solution path first, break the work down into logical steps, and clearly define exactly what a successful output looks like before you ever hit send.
Right, section 3, build a structured prompt. Let's translate that mental model straight into execution.
If we want to completely eliminate those unstated assumptions we just talked about, you really must build every single prompt using 6 mandatory questions. Think of it as your prompting OS. First, who should the AI act as? That's the role. Second, why does this task even exist? That's your context. Third, what does success look like? The objective. Fourth, what specific output is required? The format. Fifth, what voice should be used? The tone. And finally, what boundaries apply? Those are your constraints. Answer these 6 questions, and honestly, you eliminate so much uncontrolled risk. Alongside those 6 questions, you've got to start treating the AI's context window like human working memory, not some massive, endless storage drive. Here is your 4-step playbook for managing that memory. 1. Define the task clearly with one single objective. 2.
Curate the context. Seriously, filter out all that irrelevant noise. 3, structure your input logically by stating the objective first and then providing the data. And 4, break the workflow into sequential steps instead of relying on one massive, totally overloaded prompt.
Which brings us to Section 4, evaluate and calibrate outputs. Remember, your first output is almost never your final product. High-quality results are actually achieved through this exact calibration loop. You ask with your initial prompt. Then, you carefully observe and validate the output for any misunderstandings. Next, you refine your prompt by adding constraints or clarity. And finally, you rerun it. I really want to stress this point here. This loop is not a bug, and it's not an inefficiency. This deliberate back and forth is the actual calibration of intelligence. When you hit that observation phase, you need to aggressively apply these 5 specific lenses to evaluate the AI's output. Lens 1, check its correctness. Are the facts actually accurate? Lens 2, ensure objective fit. Did it really answer your specific question? Lens 3, validate reasoning quality. Are the conclusions logically supported by the data you gave it? Lens 4, demand explainability. Can that logic be clearly defended? And Lens 5, gauge its confidence. Is the AI acknowledging uncertainty, or is it just faking certainty? Applying those 5 lenses is absolutely critical because of a very real, very dangerous trap. The most dangerous moment is when plausible but entirely incorrect output bypasses your human judgment. This happens when the AI spits out an output that is incredibly confident, beautifully written, and completely factually wrong. Fluency is not fact. You've got to remain highly vigilant. Never let a plausible-sounding draft slip past your review just because it reads well. And finally, Section 5, apply critical security guardrails. Because we operate in a high-impact, low-error environment, these rules are absolutely non-negotiable. We use a highly practical classification system to dictate exactly how you handle data. Green means safe. That's public information, broad brainstorming, generic templates. Yellow means caution. That's for draft analyses and internal summaries. But red means absolutely no Gen AI. This includes final rating decisions, material non-public information, and confidential unpublished client data. If your data falls into that red category, it never ever touches the AI. No exceptions. Let me just reiterate these critical guardrails one more time so there is absolutely zero ambiguity. Never input sensitive data, period. Always fact-check and verify every single output, treating it as nothing more than an unverified first draft. Always respect copyright and intellectual property. And most importantly, you are always accountable. At the end of the day, you are the final owner and approver of any content you generate and use. When you follow this step-by-step guide, Spark Assist truly becomes your intelligent co-pilot. Its entire goal is to free you up from those low-value, super time-consuming tasks, like basic summarizing and structuring, so that you can dedicate your energy to high-value, expert analysis. It's here to augment your workflow, not replace your role. Which leaves us with this final thought to take away from our explainer today. Knowing that you are always the pilot, that the AI is never a substitute for your expertise, and that it merely amplifies the instructions you provide, how will you apply your uniquely human judgment to masterfully drive this technology today?